Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Today on Young and Restless, Tessa tells Sharon she's filing for divorce. Nick refuses to stay in his hospital bed, and Victor updates the family on all they are losing. Read the last Y&R recap. Sally called out Billy's revenge fixation, and Victor faced Cain and Phyllis over Newman's collapse. At Sharon's, she tells Noah how drained Sienna must be after her ordeal. He explains that Sienna got some laughs out of the dinosaur blanket he gave her. Pacing, Noah admits he's filled with nervous energy. His mom tells him to channel it into something positive like she does. Sharon gets him some chamomile and says it's likely Matt was even more injured than Nick. They hope he's dead. Tessa shows up and asks after Nick and Sienna. Sharon is shocked she knows her. Tessa explains she knew her as a roadie back in the day. When Noah goes off to check on Sienna, Sharon has tea with Tessa and wonders why she's there so late. Her daughter-in-law explains that she hasn't heard from Mariah. She left the clinic, and they haven't heard anything since. It's starting to look like she will never heal or come back. Sharon was praying for Mariah's recovery, but has been distracted by everything with Matt and Noah. She worries that Mariah felt shut out. Tessa urges her not to blame herself. Her wife shut her out repeatedly and doesn't need any of them. She admits she's been tracking her, and she seems to be going as far away as possible. Every night, she wishes there was a sign she was coming back. It's all too hard, and she can't keep doing this, so she's filing for divorce. This isn't what she wants, but she doesn't know what else to do. They were so happy. And then this happened out of the blue. Sharon is sure there must be an explanation for her daughter's behavior. Maybe she should wait for her to explain? Tessa thinks if she comes home, it will just be to get her stuff. Sobbing, Tessa says she can't live this way any longer. She can't keep telling her daughter Mariah will come back when she doesn't know. She's finally reached the point of accepting the marriage is over. Sharon is sorry. Tessa needs to move on. Sharon holds her as she weeps. Adam stops by the hospital to see Nick and teases him for not even having a broken nose. Nick complains about the pain of his busted leg. His brother admit he doesn't have the best news. Jack and Kyle have Matt and tried using him as a bargaining chip for the AI. Before they could make a deal, everything went to hell. He explains they were attacked by the AI. Cain and Phyllis were likely behind it. Nick warned her about getting involved in this. His brother tells him he's going to have to sit this fight out. He assures him Matt is safely a captive, even if not by them. They debate whether Jack would let Matt go free. Even if he does, they have a team watching him. Nick isn't confident they can keep Matt in lockdown. He can't handle staying there while everything is going up in flames. His brother reminds him he just got out of surgery and can't walk out. Nick orders him to help him up. As Nick pulls on a hoodie, his brother tells him this is a really bad idea. Nick keeps insisting. On the train, Victor tells Cain and Phyllis to cut the crap. He knows they are trying to destroy his family, and they don't know who they are messing with. Phyllis confirms they are responsible. To the new victors go the spoils, she says. Newman is theirs, and there's nothing he can do. Victor smiles. Phyllis accuses him of always belittling her and treating her like she's not good enough for his family. He asks them what they want and offers to restore Arabesque. Cain says Newman is theirs, and there's nothing he can do. They can't be bought. Victor asks what their price is. Cain reminds him he tarnished his father's name. Victor says that didn't need any blackening from him. Cain offers to sell him Arabesque to see if he can turn it into a success. Annoyed, Victor tells them they will regret this. Phyllis declares there is no negotiation. Victor says they will see who is standing when this is over. He adds that Summer will likely loathe her mother for what she's done. At the ranch, Nikki waves her hands, declaring that the sharks are circling. Victoria says they are trying to do damage control, but the press has already discovered they are falling apart. Nikki says her husband's damned vendetta against Jack may have cost them everything. Her daughter assures her they can fight this, and Daddy will stop at nothing to stop Cain. Nikki says everyone has underestimated Cain, and he's not afraid of Victor. It's possible that the great Victor Newman has finally met his match, she admits. Claire joins them and they update her. She explains she confronted her grandfather about the AI, and he denied he had it. Claire doesn't know how Phyllis could do this to her daughter's family. They tell her Phyllis is all about Phyllis. Victor strolls in, happy to see Claire. He explains that Cain and Phyllis admitted they were behind the attack and refused to make any deals. It was informed him that their assets are already being transferred to who knows where. They can't stop it. Nikki demands know how he could have let this happen. He goes for a bottle, and she lectures him for his lousy judgment and placing them all in the wrong position. As they bicker, Victoria begs them to stop. Nick hobbles in with Adam, eager to help them out of this mess. He's not going to sit on the sidelines and watch things slip away. He's the only one who can talk Phyllis into ending the insanity. Cain and Phyllis go to society, and he tells her it's weird that they are on the verge of the Newman apocalypse and everyone is still eating empanadas. He wonders if she's starting to regret what they've done. She insists she has no regrets. Phyllis loved to finally look Victor in the eye and say she beat him. That was awesome, and she's prepared for him to come after them. He's sure she's worried about how Summer will react. She insists she's not and tells him not to throw water on this. Phyllis repeats she's ready. He hopes so, since things are going to go nuclear. Laughing, she says they already have. Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of January 19 and 23 reveal that Victor Newman will consider a revenge partner while Michael Baldwin finds himself in a mess. Devin Winters and Abby Winters will also get thrown into a crisis, so here's what Y&R fans can expect. For starters, Kane Ashby will share his latest win against Victor by giving Billy Abbott a victory of his own. Whether this involves a promise to hand over Newman Enterprises, Chancellor, or something else, Kane will indeed have something to offer vengeful Billy. As for Phyllis Summers, she'll continue to gloat about her part in this victory. Phyllis will dig her heels in when it comes to standing by Kane, even if that means Daniel Romalotti Jr. and Summer Newman are unhappy with her for a while. Over with Billy, the more he embraces his revenge obsession, the more issues he'll face in his relationship with Sally Spectra. Sally and Billy's romance will be tested perhaps more than ever before in the coming episodes. Meanwhile, Victor will refuse to just sit back and accept defeat. That's not how Victor rolls, so he'll strategize and suck Michael deeper into the world of Newman drama. Lauren Fenmore. Baldwin will have some familiar worries when it comes to Michael's position and how far he's willing to go for Newman Enterprises. However, Victor seems poised to embrace a surprising new tactic, since 2026 preview spoilers suggest he'll team up with Jack. Although Victor and Jack are never going to trust each other, they might be able to get along long enough to target Cain and Phyllis. While Nick Newman tries to put all the Matt Clark mayhem to rest, a new kidnapping threat will lurk elsewhere. Mariah Copeland is losing it thanks to all the Ian Ward visions, and may believe it's her destiny to abduct Dominic Newman Abbott Winters Chancellor. Devin and Abby have some blissful park scenes coming up, but everything will change once Dominic eventually gets snatched and kicks off a mystery. Of course, Y&R fans will know more than Abby and Devin, since it'll be Mariah who's behind Dominic's kidnapping, but Detective Burrow will help try to get to the bottom of things. The Young and the Restless spoilers say the week of January 19 to 23 will bring some shocking news and sneaky plans, so stay tuned for updates on all the chaos. Here are your spoilers for The Young and the Restless, episode airing Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. As Victor and Nikki argue about family business, Nick takes matters into his own hands, and Sharon helps Tessa make a tough decision. Victor and Nikki had a huge blowout before the holidays. Fortunately, they reconciled for Christmas and exchanged expensive, personalized gifts. Victor recounted the tragic tale of how he was left at an orphanage on Christmas Eve by his mother, Cora. However, now, they're at odds again. Nikki wants Matt Clark off the streets, and she wants Victor to end his fight with the Abbotts. Both of those things can be achieved, but Victor has been reticent. Now, they have new problems as Kane's AI program has turned on its host, Newman. On Wednesday's show, watch for Victor and Nikki to argue about both family and business. Will they grow closer over the program's threat to Newman Enterprises, or will their fighting drive them apart? Nick is sidelined thanks to the car crash caused by Matt Clark. Nick's on crutches and is healing after surgery to repair his damaged leg. However, Nick is resourceful. Even at a disadvantage, he's more capable than many. On Wednesday's show, watch for Nick to take matters into his own hands. Does this mean he's going to put an end to Matt once and for all? Or will he look to try to end the feud between his father, Victor, and his former stepdad, Jack? Tessa has shown the patience of a saint as Mariah has continued to push her wife further and further away. It took what seemed like forever for Mariah to finally confess that she nearly killed someone during his business trip. Tessa begged Mariah to let her in, to not throw away their family. But Mariah is the poster child for low self-esteem. She doesn't feel worthy of Tessa. In time, Tessa fell for her guitar pupil, Daniel, and they made love. On Wednesday's show, watch for Sharon, Mariah's mother, to help Tessa make a tough decision. Will it be to pursue Mariah or to walk away? Tune in to find out. On The Young and the Restless, the impossible just happened. Victor Newman, the man who plays people like pawns and treats Genoa City as his personal chessboard, admitted he was scared. And you know who put that fear into Victor's eyes? Not a corporate threat out of New York or some faceless opponent from overseas. It was the supremely chaotic and immeasurably effective mismatch of Cain Ashby and Phyllis Summers. Or perhaps they aren't a mismatch after all. More on that later, soap fans. This AI attack on Newman Enterprises couldn't have happened at a better time, nor to a better person. And it wasn't just a hack. It was a wrecking ball. If you take a look at the reckoning upon Victor Newman, you have to ask, was this a crime of passion or the result of a fantastically played long game? Cain has spent years, forever switching back and forth between the good guy trying to do right by Lily and their children, and the man with a roguish past who, without a doubt, definitely knows how to survive in the gutter. But when we met his Aristotle Dumas persona in the south of France, it suggested something far more complicated and calculating. The attack on Newman Enterprises really doesn't feel like a poorly thought out or knee-jerk reaction decision. It feels like the work of someone who has been quietly taking notes while everyone underestimated him. Victor himself even noted that Cain just sat back and watched his own creation, arabesque, burn. But perhaps he was just sacrificing pawns to reposition his queen? If this were indeed a long game, Cain has played it so well. He masterfully hid in plain sight, letting everyone make the assumption that he was washed out, all while holding the nuclear football for Newman Enterprises. This isn't just Cain Ashby maneuvering around a crisis. This is Dumas executing a hit, like a mob assassin. He saw an opening where others saw a brick wall, and he struck with a blow right out of left field that left the Newman family scrambling to take the entire company offline just to stop the bleeding. How can Victor not see the parallel with what the Abbotts had to do with Jabot? If Caney is the math and precision behind the attack, Phyllis is like a strategic nuclear warhead. A plan this finicky could have easily stalled if it were left to logic. It needed Phyllis and her specific brand of unhinged determination, another reason it's so hard to hate on this woman. Phyllis didn't just want to win, she wanted to burn the kingdom down. Her fantasy of taking down the great Victor Newman wasn't about money, it was about respect. She feels double-crossed, undervalued, and dismissed by the Newman family. That kind of magnitude of vendetta makes her so unpredictable, which is exactly why this plan worked way better than Cain likely anticipated. Victor has always been able to predict business moves on The Young and the Restless. He can outspend most, if not all, rivals. But he simply cannot predict a woman who is motivated by the desperate need to prove she is a Genoa City success to her children, and also one who doesn't even know what she is going to do from one moment to the next. Phyllis is the wild card that turned a situation into a personal humiliation for Victor. She refuses to help Billy, ignores the moral lines, and focuses entirely on the victory. That singular focus took Cain's plan from great to epic. The chemistry in that room was electric, and it wasn't just the thrill of victory. When you have two people who feel like outcasts, desperate, ambitious, and morally flexible, finding a rhythm together, the lines blur fast. They aren't just business partners on The Young and the Restless, they are co-conspirators in the truest sense. There is an intimacy in destroying an empire together that dinner dates just can't match. Cain's concern for Phyllis's moment of glory and Phyllis's defense of their partnership against outsiders suggests a bond that goes beyond the boardroom. Are they a situationship? It certainly looks like it. They are a power duo who are running on adrenaline and revenge, likely finding comfort in the fact that they are the only two people in town who understand what it feels like to be on the outside looking in. If they are mixing business with pleasure, they might just be the most dangerous couple Genoa City has seen in years. Billy is celebrating a win against Victor Newman on The Young and the Restless, January 13th. However, he could lose Sally and not realize it. At Christmas, Sally confessed to Victoria that her feelings for Billy were real, but her recent conversation with Adam on New Year's Eve has us questioning everything. Billy informed Phyllis that Jack pushed off the idea of stealing the AI program from Victor. He also told Jack to keep his options open, but he hasn't encouraged him to take action. Rather, he's in the liminal space. Billy is stalling on his future business plans. He's been sitting on the sidelines as Phyllis and Cain use the AI program to take over Newman Enterprises. Billy is quietly celebrating while Sally watches Abbott Communications. She fears the company could take a hit after Newman Enterprises crumbles. They worked tirelessly to relaunch this company. The launch party was supposed to be Sally's big moment. However, it was collateral damage control in a war between the Abbotts and the Newmans. Billy refused to be involved. Sally was upset with Adam for doing Victor's bidding. But there's still a connection between the exes. She spends most of her time comparing Adam to Billy, even though she claims she's moved on. That's because there's still some part of her who's still in love with Adam. New Year's Eve brought Adam and Sally back together. Chelsea was sick with the flu and didn't want anyone around her. Meanwhile, Billy was away on a business trip. Adam and Sally found themselves alone at society on New Year's Eve. The two had a friendly conversation, reconnecting with each other. They even toasted as the clock struck midnight. Neither of them thought about their respective partners that night. Sally and Adam have a long, complicated history, which means there are still feelings there. Meanwhile, Sally has found herself alone in her relationship. Billy refuses to fight any of Sally's battles, while Adam appears to be a man with a plan. He's been running Newman Media and getting things done, even if he's making the wrong choices. Sally previously shared her feelings for Billy with Victoria. She admitted that she loved him and that her feelings for him were real. However, her past childhood trauma has reignited the anxiety and uncertainty she feels in her relationship. Billy has sworn that he's changed, but Sally can tell that his mind is elsewhere. His obsession with Victor could ruin their relationship. Adam appears to be a sane and successful individual, which is saying a great deal. If Billy doesn't focus on Sally, he could end up losing her to Adam. The Y&R spoilers for 2026 suggest that Sally will question whether she knows Billy, which could lead to significant revelations. Is their love strong enough to keep them together? The Young and the Restless spoilers for Thursday, January 15th, reveal that Nick hasn't learned his lesson as he lies to Sharon. Meanwhile, Phyllis demonstrates that she never learns her lesson, once again explaining how she is always right and everyone else is always wrong. Ever since Matt popped back into their lives, Nick has been trying to take care of the problem himself and leave Sharon out of it. So far, that's led to Noah's kidnapping and Nick ending up in the hospital. Good job, Nick. That's very Victor-coded of you. You'd think his repeated failure would have convinced Nick he can't handle this on his own. You'd think wrong. Nick is keeping secrets from Sharon again. For her own good, of course. Speaking of Victor-coded, Phyllis always has the best reasons for everything she does, from lying about Daniel's paternity to faking her own death. Now she's joined forces with Cain to bring down Victor, after she joined forces with Victor, and was shocked to learn he intended to bring down Cain. Phyllis never thinks before she acts, but she always has an explanation for why it was still the best decision, no matter how it works out. Billy keeps promising Sally that he'll stop obsessing over all the people who done him dirty in the past and focus on the future, their future. Billy always says, "Yeah, sure, totes, you got it." And then he goes ahead and does whatever he wants. On The Young and the Restless, Phyllis and Cain have worked together to take over Newman Enterprises. Victor Newman has already lost the first division. Cain's involvement with Phyllis has been a head-scratcher for Y&R fans since he's still in love with Lily. In the meantime, her on-screen portrayer, Michelle Stafford, pulled back the veil and looked into Phyllis's soul. Instead of confronting Victor, Cain outwitted him behind the scenes. He took the stolen AI program to flip the script and reclaim his power. Cain unleashed the AI software that Victor had previously stolen and dismantled, as Newman Enterprises crumbled in real time. In a single false move, Victor lost control. He had no idea what was coming. Newman just faced its first hit. The AI tore through every part of the systems. The assets were already pushed offline, which means it was too late to save them. One of Newman's divisions was already wiped out before Victor and Adam could stop it. Meanwhile, Cain and Phyllis were celebrating their victory in the bedroom. Their collaboration has become a head-scratcher for fans of both characters. Cain proved that he had the power all along. He could have turned the AI program on Newman at any given time, but he chose to do it now. He took the opportunity when the chips fell, and while Victor was distracted, Victor learned that Jack and Kyle had Matt Clark. Jack tried to make a deal with Victor, but he refused. Then, he found out that Newman Enterprises had been stolen from underneath him. Y&R viewers have questioned Cain's involvement with Phyllis. What does he want with her? He figures that he's already lost everything. Lily and his kids won't forgive him, and now they want nothing to do with him. So, why not transform himself into the power-hungry monster they already think he is? Instead of proving them wrong, he decided to stoop to that level. Cain figures he has nothing else to lose at this point, so he might as well live up to his Aristotle Dumas identity. Stafford, who called out the blur between actress and character, pulled back the veil on Phyllis on Instagram. She shared a quote from her soapy podcast with co-hosts Rebecca Budig and Greg Rickhart. Phyllis is jacked up, all the time. And the way that she's written, especially now, and I really like it, so don't get me wrong, but she's fighting for her life in every scene, and she's hanging from the cliff, Stafford explained. That's like where she is emotionally BC on a soul level. Phyllis wants to reclaim her place in Genoa City. She was tired of being seen as the outcast, and she's doing it by taking over other people's companies and teaming up with the town's biggest enemy. She doesn't care whose trust she could lose because of it. Joshua Morrow and Sharon Case are set to go live with Michael Fairman to talk through one of the Young and the Restless' most intense current arcs. The longtime co-stars will join Fairman on his YouTube channel to discuss Nick's shocking car crash, the return of Matt Clark under the name Mitch Bacall, and how the story is reshaping Sharon and Nick's world. The live conversation will give viewers a chance to hear directly from Morrow and Case as they revisit a storyline rooted deeply in the show's history, now revived with new layers and new players. Nick's crash, caused by his longtime enemy Matt Clark, has reopened a chapter Sharon and Nick believed was closed. The twist that Matt is alive, operating as Mitch Bacall, and actively targeting their son Noah, has shifted the emotional center of the story. Morrow and Case will talk about what it's been like to step back into this history-heavy arc, and how the danger now feels more personal than ever for Sharon and Nick. The live chat will also focus on the actors stepping into key roles within the arc. Roger Howarth's portrayal of Matt Clark brings a new intensity to a character already known for manipulation and harm, while still honoring the character's history. Lucas Adams' arrival as Noah adds another emotional layer, putting Sharon and Nick in a position where protecting their son becomes central to every decision. The conversation will stream live on Michael Fairman's YouTube channel. Viewers will be able to watch in real time and submit questions through the live chat feature during the broadcast. For those following the storyline closely, the event offers a chance to hear how the actors are approaching the material and what they see ahead for Sharon, Nick, and the families caught in Matt's orbit. On the January 13th, 2026 episode of The Young and the Restless, Jack delivered good news to Diane, Sally and Billy hashed things out, and Victor realized Phyllis and Cain were behind the attack on Newman Enterprises. Diane paced around the Abbott mansion, still stunned that Matt Clark was still alive. She wished she had witnessed Victor's face when he saw Jack and Kyle make their move. Diane asked if Victor had agreed to call off his endless pursuit of Jack and Jabot. Jack surprised Diane, and revealed that Victor was now the one on the receiving end of an attack. Diane tried to make sense of everything, since it seemed like Victor would take their deal. Jack said that Victor stalled, but he knew that the mustache was cornered. Jack didn't think that Victor posed a threat to Jabot after that night. He wasn't ready to consider the threat entirely over, but his gut told him that Victor was scared. Jack saw fear in Victor's eyes, and it rattled him in a way that he'd never seen before. Jack and Diane were proud of Kyle for having the Newmans followed, which led to the capture of Matt Clark. They didn't want to celebrate too prematurely, but for now, this was the reprieve they needed. Jack wasn't 100% sure what had Victor off his game, but he had an idea. Diane understood why Cain and Phyllis would become a team, and she couldn't help but praise her enemy for making it happen. For once, Phyllis impressed her. However, Jack was still guarded because they could still be a target of Cain's software. At his apartment, Billy toasted to Cain and Phyllis finally taking down the great Victor Newman. He'd clearly had a lot to drink, and Sally overheard the entire thing. This was her greatest fear come to life. Her only question to him was, "Are you drinking again?" Billy promised her that his drinking wasn't a big deal. He wanted to take the edge off, but this felt like a backslide for Billy. He tried to play it off and head to bed, but she insisted that he stay put so they could talk. Sally was proud of Billy for how hard he had worked to make changes in his life. That being said, she felt like he was on edge again, and it left her scared. Sally asked what was going on, and Billy tried to dodge the question at first. He confessed that he witnessed Cain and Phyllis putting their plan in action, and that's all there was to it. Sally wanted to dive deeper into the situation, but Billy begged her to drop it and move on. Billy tried to explain himself to Sally, but she only grew more concerned with every word uttered. He couldn't understand why she'd be upset by his behavior, but Billy had lied to her at every turn. Sally was emotional when questioning Billy for lying to her face. Sally recalled how Adam gaslit her about his feelings for Chelsea, and how it eerily echoed what Billy was doing to her. The mere idea of being compared to Adam set Billy off like the black sheep firecracker that he's always been. Sally reminded Billy that his obsession with getting revenge on Victor had been a major point of contention in their relationship. She understood that he'd be happy about Victor's downfall. Still, she took issue that he hid his feelings from her. Billy admitted that he wished he'd been a part of it, but she believed there was a larger issue at play. Sally believed that she was the only adult in the room. She was the only person having the uncomfortable conversations. Billy assured her that it wasn't the case, but he accused her of doing the same thing. For months, she has lurked over his shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. She fully expects him to fail at some point. Sally didn't think that Billy had a drinking problem, but she believed he had an obsession problem. Billy took a moment to apologize to Sally for making her question her ability to trust him. He promised that he wasn't reverting to his old ways. It was a momentary lapse, and he didn't think there was anything more to it. Back at the Newman ranch, the entire family was in complete crisis as their company gutted itself from the inside. Nikki asked how this could have occurred since Victor had the program the entire time. She begged for answers about whom, what, when, how, and why this could have happened to their family company. Nikki got Victor to admit that the situation scared him, but he was adamant that it could not have been an inside job. Nobody at the company was aware that he had the software, so it was certainly an outside attack. Nikki suggested that they compile a list of potential suspects, and he was sure it was someone they knew. Victor knew right away that Phyllis was the likely culprit. He thought that either Phyllis had put something in the software before she handed it over to him, or Cain always had the ability to do it. Nikki questioned why Cain hadn't already used this capability if he possessed it all along. He sat back and allowed his company to be reduced to ashes and did nothing to stop it. Victor knew that Phyllis was angry enough with her to do this, and he believed they were desperate because both were running out of money. Victor told Nikki that their only hope was to go to the negotiation table with Cain and Phyllis. Nikki worried that they wouldn't be open to it since they despised him. However, Victor assured her that everyone has a price. Nikki felt like their family had endured too much lately. First Noah, the Nick, and now the company. She wanted to believe that they'd overcome this obstacle, but this was the first time she was truly scared that her husband would lose. Adam and Victoria returned to the living room and informed Victor that the AI program was doing considerable damage. Nikki and Victoria believed the best course of action was to take their company offline. Phyllis had a fantasy sequence about Victor handing over a literal key to Newman Enterprises. In the daydream, Victor and Nikki gave Phyllis all the credit for being the one to take them down. Cain returned to the room and asked if Phyllis was imagining how everything would play out. He wasn't far off. Phyllis admitted that she knew her life would change if she went to Nice. Although she didn't know Cain was the mysterious Aristotle Dumas, the sentiment remained. This was the first step in Phyllis proving all of her doubters wrong. She was finally going to be a Genoa City success. Phyllis couldn't wait to rub her victory in Victor's face. She wanted to tell her kids about what she was capable of, so they'd finally respect her. Cain hoped that Phyllis could enjoy this with her family, something he was unable to do with Lily and the twins. This was personally for Phyllis. She felt double-crossed by Victor, and now he had to live with the fact that she had buried him. Phyllis relished the glory that she'd feel when she finally told Victor that she was responsible for decimating his corporate empire. Cain joked that they should keep Victor's portrait as an homage to the man. Phyllis received a text from Victor, and she wondered if he already knew what had happened. When she didn't answer his text, he called Cain, and that was also ignored. Cain shifted topics to Billy, whom he felt was heartbroken from being left out of the great Victor takedown of 2026. Phyllis pleaded with Cain not to make Billy's issue his problem. She reminded him that Billy wasn't actually his brother, but he felt strongly about this. Cain wanted to help Billy out. She refused to be a part of helping Billy with anything, and she assured Cain that he'd end up hurt in the end by his faux bro. Cain called Billy and asked if he could meet him in the morning so they could talk things through. Victor dropped by the train, ignored Phyllis, and asked Cain, "What will it take to end this madness?" Young and the Restless gives Matt Clark currently in custody of the Abbott's private security team. Meanwhile, the Newmans are scrambling to save their family empire that is under attack by the AI that turned on Victor Newman. Soon, Jack Abbott's and Victor Newman's families may need to come together to battle their mutual enemies. Right now, we've got Victor scrambling. He's trying to save Newman Enterprises from the AI attack that came from Cain Ashby and Phyllis Summers. Already this week, Victoria Newman told Victor that she's moving assets, but one of their entire divisions has already been wiped out. The company is disintegrating from within. Nikki Newman is beyond disgusted, and she told Victoria that Victor knows how this plays out because he did the same thing to Arabesque, another really big company. Now, Victor's saying that they're too big to fail, and he's vowing he won't let it happen to their company. But it is happening. Victor marched over to negotiate with Cain and Phyllis. Victor told Nikki and Victoria that everybody has their price, so he's sure he can make a deal. He shows up at the Cain train just as Phyllis and Cain are wrapping up their celebratory sex fest. They were getting dressed and were going to head over to the Newman ranch to taunt Victor, but he saved them the trip by showing up. He asked, "What's it going to take for Phyllis and Cain to, as he called it, end the madness?" Now, Victor didn't think it was madness when he launched the AI against Cain's company. Victor never tried to end the madness then. Remember, Cain came and was trying to negotiate with him, and Victor kicked him out. Victor thinks he can buy his way out of this mess that he has created. Maybe he thinks they're nicer people than he was. But let's be real, Phyllis and Cain aren't going to stop. They don't just want money, they want to take over Newman Enterprises and make it their own. And they want to see Victor at rock freaking bottom. Meanwhile, across town, Jack is stuck with Matt Clark because Victor rejected Jack's deal to trade the AI for Matt. This week, Jack told Diane Jenkins that he saw real fear in Victor's eyes. Jack said he'd never seen Victor so rattled. Plus, Billy Abbott already told Jack that Cain and Phyllis were going to be targeting Newman. Jack's pretty much figured out that Victor is losing everything, and it is an AI attack. Diane thinks it's wonderful. She's actually rooting for Phyllis and Cain, but Jack is still on his guard because he knows that they could come for them. With everybody focused on Phyllis and Cain and the attack on Newman, This is the perfect time for Matt to find a way out of captivity. Jack got private security holding Matt in a secure location, but Victor sent his people to follow them. If Victor's people try and take Matt from the Abbott's people, there could be a scuffle, and that might give Matt the chance to run off. There are new winter spoilers about Matt making trouble for all the families in Genoa City, and an escape is the best place to start. It's about to get even messier because Cain wants to bring in his sort of brother Billy into this situation as well. Right now, Cain feels bad that Billy isn't part of getting revenge on Victor when he desperately wanted to get payback on the mustache for so long. Now, Billy may not be Cain's biological brother, like Cain pretended to be years ago, but he does care about Billy, and he wants to help him. Of course, Phyllis doesn't think he should, but Cain's going to invite Billy to join the party. That means Cain, Phyllis, and Billy might soon be running Newman Enterprises together, unless Victor can find a way to stop the unstoppable AI or find some way to bribe Cain and Phyllis to stop what they're doing. Bottom line, everything is slipping away from the Newmans, all because Victor refused Jack's deal. Further back, if Victor hadn't ever used the AI, but that's water under the bridge. This week, Victor turned down the chance. If they had destroyed the AI together as Jack asked, then Cain couldn't have used it and flipped the switch. It was a Trojan horse now eating Newman Enterprises from the inside out. Also, Matt would be in the Newmans' custody or in jail. But Victor always thinks he knows better, and he's really screwed the pooch this time. A new Young and the Restless spoiler for winter 2026 says that Matt makes new enemies. Another spoiler says Jack and Diane pay for Nikki and Victor's actions. Jack can't in good conscience let Matt go. He knows how dangerous he is. Jack's got to keep him locked up or turn him over to the cops. Already, Matt's decided he hates Jack and Kyle Abbott for holding him against his will. Jack and his family are now also on Matt's target list, along with Sharon Newman, Nick Newman, Victor, Noah Newman, and all the other Newmans. It seems inevitable that Matt Clark will be on the loose soon based on the 2026 spoilers. Other spoilers say Victor and Jack are going to have to work together to take on Cain and Phyllis because she still has her eye on Jabot. With Cain basically turning back into a villain at this point, they might turn the AI on the Abbotts too. The two families, led by Jack and Victor, are going to be facing war on two fronts. First, against the AI, Cain, Phyllis, and possibly Billy, and second, with the very real threat of murderous Matt Clark. It may take everyone in both families to get rid of these looming threats. Nick Newman ended up in a car wreck at the hands of Matt Clark on The Young and the Restless. Matt tried to take control of Nick's steering wheel and his fate. Nick had Matt in his car with him zip-tied in the back seat. Matt managed to place his bound hands around Nick's neck, which caused him to lose control of the vehicle. The latest photos show Nick leaving the hospital and arriving at Victor's home. Some fans have a feeling that the worst is yet to come. Y&R might have teased a new storyline that's headed for Nick's. After he was choked out by Matt while driving, causing the vehicle to careen off the road, Nick ended up in the hospital. He had to undergo emergency surgery for his broken leg. Nick woke up from surgery and felt an extreme amount of pain. He clutched his leg as he asked Sharon to ask a nurse to get him more meds. This scene could suggest that Nick could be headed for a painkiller addiction. And who knows, if Nick does get addicted to drugs, his buddy, Matt Clark, may have something to do with it. After all, Matt was a drug dealer in Los Angeles, and his go-to drug of choice was fentanyl. It's a perfect way to sedate his enemies, and also to exact revenge. It's possible that Matt could have slipped fentanyl into Nick's system at the scene of the crash. If that's the case, then his need for more meds wasn't a coincidence. This could lead to an addiction story, and Y&R viewers are seeing the signs. Over on X, formerly Twitter, one Y&R fan posted a photo of Nick. It looks like he's been released from the hospital and is walking around the Newman ranch despite having a broken leg. He looks worse for wear. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Victor Newman may find a buried body and DNA evidence with the help of his team. Will Victor ultimately score the proof necessary to back Holden Novak into a criminal corner? Holden recently struck a deal with Audra Charles, who agreed to back off Claire Newman as long as he'd keep quiet about the Los Angeles details. However, Audra's nice act didn't fool Claire, who was weirded out by her rival suddenly pretending to be cordial. Claire still doesn't trust Audra and has no intention of forgetting about her LA curiosity. In fact, 2026 Wayaka preview spoilers point to Claire doing everything in her power to unearth Holden and Audra's secret. Although Claire will be dealing with her feelings for Holden in the midst of all this, she'll definitely remain on a mission for the truth. It's possible Claire will seek Victor's help finding out what Audra and Holden are hiding at some point. Claire doesn't have the resources she needs on her own, but Victor has a whole team of experts for tasks like this. Of course, it's also possible that Victor won't even need Claire to ask for his assistance. Victor is already suspicious of Holden and has voiced concerns about Claire's connection to him. The longer Claire stays in Holden's orbit, the more likely it becomes that Victor will dig deeper into Holden's shady past. Victor might even dig deep enough to find the body Holden buried in an unmarked grave. Holden indeed transported deceased Richard in his trunk after punching him and accidentally smashing his head into the bar. The body was disposed of somewhere and may be discovered by Victor's investigative team in the end. There might even be some DNA proof if Holden wasn't careful enough during his attempt to cover all this up. Victor could eventually find himself in possession of some blackmail material. Perhaps Victor could threaten to expose Holden's criminal actions if he doesn't leave Genoa City, or at least stop pursuing Claire romantically. Then again, Victor might blackmail Holden into helping him take down Cain Ashby. Since Holden is someone who's worked for Cain and perhaps has his trust, Victor might be able to use that to his advantage. Regardless, the Young and the Restless spoilers say Holden and even Audra could land in hot water, depending on how things play out. So stick with us for updates on any stunning news ahead.